Welcome back, viewers. You're watching the Tarnia Green Show. Now, great things come in small packages. Michael Henderson is that phrase personified. Anyone who assumes that her vocal and musical skills mirror her petite frame and gentle nature is in for a shocker. Whether a powerful roar or a gentle purr, Michael's vocals evoke emotion. Her enviable range, her agility on the flute, and her energetic stage personality make for a powerful combination. She was born into a musical family. Her father, Lambert, played the guitar, and her mother, Marguerite Rose, nurtured her singing and songwriting skills. It didn't hurt that her extended family was the village of Grand Bay, famously known as the cultural capital of Dominica. Now, from the tender age of 2, she was already honing her craft, singing at church, singing at home, singing in the village. By the time she was a teenager, she was enrolled at the Kyrie School of Music, where she learned to play recorder and flute. At the age of 15, Michael joined the jazz band Impact as lead singer and flautist. She was also featured on an album by one of Dominica's most famous bands, the WCK. She went on to play a pivotal role in the release of 3 commemorating the annual World Creole Music Festival held in Dominica. Michael rose to prominence as a singer, songwriter in those years and began to seek new challenges. Roland Del Sol Jr., former bass player of Impact, whom Michael later married, took on the task of producing her first solo album, the self-titled Michael Henderson. The album received glowing reviews and earned Michael the first of her numerous international live performances.
Everywhere I'm looking now, I'm surrounded by your embrace. Baby, I can see you halo. You know you're my saving grace. You're everything I need and more. It's written all over your face. Baby, I can see you halo. I pray it won't fade away.
Let's welcome this lovely seasoned Dominican icon who we are so proud of, Michael Henderson. Michael, thank you for joining me on the Tarnia Green Show.
Thank you, Tanya.
It's great to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here.
So much has been happening with you.
Thank you.
You are considered one of Dominica's musical icons.
Wow.
Yes, you've made us proud.
Thank you.
A lot of young people want to emulate Michael. Talk to us about your life. We know you grew up in Grand Bay. You came from a wonderful family who embraced you, who encouraged you, who nurtured you.
Right.
And you wanted them to be proud.
Indeed. Both my mother and father, for the people who know them, were very encouraging, very caring and tender parents, and took our raising as something that was very important to them and very representative of themselves. You know, they wanted people to see themselves in their children, and my parents were very, very good examples in the community, and so we were raised to emulate that. And I'm just very encouraged that my parents saw that there was a bit of talent in me and that they would nurture that and encourage me and allow me to pursue my dream as I wanted to.
You're associated with music, talent personified.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
At what age were you introduced to music?
Oh, before I was born, for sure. And my mother tells a story. There's a little tidbit that she tells when people ask about how early I started to sing. And she said, well, the Midnight Groovers used to have a band house which was in our yard. And so she believes that I was conceived to the music of the Midnight Groovers.
Yes.
So music has been a part of me from conception, I should say. And at age 2 was already singing at church, and my father was the choir director and the guitarist at church. So it was, as far as I can remember, I've been singing and been involved in music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got married at the tender age of
20.
Yes.
I was a little bit busy. Yeah.
Yes. And you originally started off with the Impact
Yes.
band, and then you transitioned into what?
From there, I started pursuing more of a solo career. I actually started doing a lot more background vocal arrangements with calypsos right after I started with Impact, because I love calypso. Calypso is one of my favorite genres of music of all time. The fact that I don't sing it is no hindrance to my love for it. So I started doing that with Cornell at Imperial Studios, and we worked on a lot of different calypsos and arranging background vocals and performing them, of course, and decided to and also the Musicanu project we also did with the World Queer Music Festival, and decided that, you know, it was time to do a solo album, and I went ahead and did that.
And how would you describe your transition into that?
It was interesting because I'd always had that group dynamic, you know, and I always felt part of the group, and here was I trying to do this on my own. So there was a bit of a sort of nervous period and a questioning as to whether or not I was ready for that level of responsibility, to be like the main figure and not have the rest of the band sort of feature equally on a project. But I had help, you know, I had people who encouraged me. I had my family members, I had my husband, I had, you know, the musicians that were involved in the project who believed in what I was doing, and so that sort of kept me grounded and helped me through the whole process.
At what point in your career did you think you became famous?
Wow. Another tidbit. When Mr. Irish, who's a former police officer, told me he was flying to Japan, and the in-flight music was Michael Henderson, and that
Wonderful, wonderful.
I think
How
at that
did you
point,
feel when he revealed that?
I was very, very proud, and you know, sort of accomplished that my music had gotten that far and was actually appreciated enough to be considered part of a catalog that was included on the flight from. I don't recall where he was going, but he was heading to Japan. I don't recall where he was coming from. But
Okay.
yeah.
What is life like being a mom, a role model, a musician?
It's not easy, for sure. I tell people, I've said this before, don't try this at home. But anyway, it takes a lot out of you, because you have to fill each of those roles equally. One can't suffer at the expense of the other, because they are all important. They're all equally important. I take my role as a role model very seriously, because I remember growing up and having role models like my father and like Gordon Henderson and Ophelia meant the world to me. I am who I am because of these role models. So it is very, very important that people in the media, people in positions of celebrity, consider their responsibility as role models. You have a huge impact on might be just one, but on a young person's life, and that is a tremendous responsibility that you should always handle with care. So for me, that is as important as raising my children, and as important as presenting my craft and my talent to the world. So they all sort of are equal and balanced in their priority, basically. So it's not an easy task, because you have to allocate time to each one of those responsibilities.
How encouraging are your two daughters?
Oh, they are. My two daughters are my biggest fans. Especially my 6-year-old is she's in awe of her mother, and I humbly appreciate that my child thinks highly of me. I know it's very easy for children to go, oh, it's just my mom, you know, but she's very caring, very affectionate, very loving, and thinks the world of her mom and her dad. She's very proud of both of us, and so is my 17-year-old. They've grown up in the industry, and they've grown up around what we do. They see what we do, how hard we work, and so they have a good appreciation of the life that they they live. Yeah.
Great. I'm sure you are very appreciative of your husband
Yes.
being at your side through this important journey in your life.
Right.
He is your manager.
Right.
All right. How easy is that, or difficult?
I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. It can be easy at times, and then it can be difficult because you have both dynamics come into play. You have the manager who sometimes has to be, you know, very matter of fact, and then you think, well, you know, you're the husband, you're supposed to be tender and calm and, you know, that kind of thing. So you do have those two dynamics sort of juxtaposed against each other.
Yes.
And it's kind of, like I said, sometimes it's easier coming from him. Let's say we have some issue that really needs to be handled professionally. Coming from him, I can probably more accept it because, well, you know, he's my significant other. He cares about me, so
Yes.
he would. If he tells me that, that means that's something that I need to work on or whatever. But then it can be difficult when I want to get something done and I
Yes.
expect the manager to just do
it.
And the manager,
Yes.
and then comes the dynamic of, but I'm the husband, you know, type. So there you have to strike a balance between the two. But he has been fantastic and phenomenal in his approach to helping me. And he doesn't really like to be called the manager, mind you.
He doesn't.
like
What does he
no.
like to be called?
I don't know, but he doesn't
Pardon
like
me, Junior.
he doesn't like that that particular reference because we sort of do it together in a way, but he's the face of it. He's the front because I tend to be soft and people will, you know, kind
Yes.
of railroad you when you're nice and calm, and I'll say okay when really I should say no. We need to stick to our guns, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, so Mikel, I'm understanding that you are enrolled at the Dominica State College.
I am.
Why did you think it's necessary for you to, you know, get a degree? Is it necessary for you to be successful?
I'll tell you why I did this. I found that there was a void in the entertainment industry. We didn't have legal minds who specialized in entertainment, and there's a huge law facet of entertainment that goes unnoticed, especially in the Caribbean. So we pay attention to the art form, we pay attention to how it's presented and those kinds of things, but we don't pay attention to the legal side. Okay. And I noticed that in my experience, and I thought maybe as a practitioner in the music industry, I would have an even greater insight and be able to bring a different perspective into the legal aspect of it. And I thought, I've been thinking about this for years, that I wanted to go into consulting, you know, in the entertainment industry, legal consulting in the entertainment industry, but time did not permit me to do so.
Yes.
And then I just put my foot down one time and said, you need to do this.
Right.
And then I thought of doing it online, but then the state college said, oh, well, we have some courses that, you know.
Yes.
And I thought, wonderful, why not go to the state college? It's ours. I want to support local instead of sending the money to, I don't know, London or somewhere that I could actually contribute here. So I decided to do that. It's been an interesting experience to see that.
You've had the opportunity to perform in a number of French territories. Do you have a French background?
My mother actually was born in Guadeloupe. So in that regard, I kind of do. And I spent a lot of time there as a kid going on a holiday. And that's actually how I learned the French language, because the kids couldn't speak English, so you had to speak French. Okay. And also I brushed up at school. I learned quite a bit of grammar and technique at school. And so that's sort of the background that I really have. I have cousins and friends who are from the neighboring islands of Guadeloupe and Martinique. And working with a lot of musicians from there as well has helped me to hone my French skills. So I actually do speak.
Oh, that's excellent. C'est très bien.
Merci beaucoup.
So tell us, how are you received in the French territories, Paris, you know, Martinique, Guadeloupe?
Well, pleasantly for me. Even when I travel, some of the, like the baggage handlers or, you know, somebody at security will, you know, say, I really love your music. And, you know, so it tells me that the music is getting out there and people actually appreciate it. And I've had the fortune of having one of my songs be #1 on the Zouk charts in Paris for some weeks.
Oh, that's excellent. When did that happen?
That happened when I released it. It's called Parlez C'est Moi. That was a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And so it enjoyed that sort of celebrity sort of status on the charts, which was very interesting for me because, you know, it was sort of like my first foray into the the French market,
Yes.
and they actually received it with open arms, and I was very appreciative of that.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in the day when you came out with this song, My Pride.
Right.
This song seemed to have resonated
Mm-hmm.
with quite a number of people.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thinking behind writing this song?
Well, first of all, I had considered writing a song for a junior monarch competition. I was just 15 years old, but I had considered that, and I sort of started throwing some words together initially. But then I let that pass, and I never, thought about it again until my mother mentioned that the Dumbfesta Song Competition was coming up. And it was the last week to enter submissions, and she said, why don't you write a song, because I'm always writing.
Yes.
So I thought, okay. And I sat down for about half an hour, and the lines, I had about 2 lines from previous, and I said, okay, I'll use that topic.
Okay.
And I sat down and wrote it in about half an hour, played it to my mom. I had a little keyboard I had borrowed from my neighbor, Amy Rafa, I forget that.
Nice.
And I put a little bit of music together, and it was done in about half an hour. My dad said, great, let's go up to the studios of Radio Abamago.
Radio Abamago.
Radio Abamago,
Okay.
Manai, Dangoven. And so we recorded it there, and my sister sang background vocals. And yeah, and we presented it. It was the last entry at the last hour
Wow.
to enter the competition.
And this launched you into fame.
Pretty much.
In Dominica.
Pretty much,
in a Dominica
exactly.
context.
Yes, and I was 15. I was the youngest in the competition.
Yes.
It was my first time ever competing live on stage
Yes.
at a local competition.
Yes.
And yeah, it was a scary experience to begin with, because everybody had props and everything, and I was just standing there singing the song. And
Yes.
so it came as a surprise to me
Yes.
when I emerged winner. That's
Okay. What is the most popular response from the public to your sensational performances?
Wow, I usually get things like, your voice is amazing, you have the most wonderful voice. Where did you learn to sing like that? Where does that voice come from? You're too small for that, that kind of thing. And lots of blessings, lots of goodwill from people who are, I'm guessing, impressed by the performance.
Yes.
And I deeply appreciate everyone who.
When are you most
comments.
happy, Mikel?
On stage, of course.
On
I'm
stage?
singing live on stage.
You're
Yes, it's
most
my
happy
happiest-
when you're on stage.
It's my happiest moment. I enjoy performing. I see my role as being able to communicate something very aesthetic to people who want and need that level of aesthetic in their life. They don't have it all the time. As an artist, you tend to take advantage of the fact that, well, I have music, or I have art, and I have creativity around me all the time. A lot of people don't have that, and
Yes.
you bring that to them, and you raise their tone level. They suddenly become happy even if they were sad, and that to me is why I'm on this earth, to do that, to lift people out of their doldrums into a much more enlightened existence.
So if music were to be taken away from you, are you saying to me that you would have lost your purpose in this life?
Wow, I've never thought of music being taken away from me. You've just like yeah, I don't know how though that music would ever be taken away from me. I may not be able to sing, but I'd always have music within. It'd always be there.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't think I'd exist really if there was no music in me. Okay. Honestly.
Do you like touring?
I enjoy it. Phenomenally.
Explain to me, the day in the life of Mikel Henderson on an official tour.
Okay, well, the travel is kind of stressful, getting on a plane and going through airports and running, and sometimes, like we were in Paris at one time, well, actually coming from Denmark through Germany to Paris, and we had to jump trains, and we pretty much almost missed the train and had to carry keyboards and stuff. Very exciting stuff,
Yes.
It's exciting, it's stressful at the time you're doing it, but then the reward is so, it's worth every bit of it. So you do that, the travel part, and then you get to the event, and you have to sound checks. Sometimes I get to an event on the same day that I have to do it, so I have to basically get off a plane, go to a sound check, make sure everything is running, and then a couple hours to get dressed, and then you're on stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It happens like that, and then the show is done. You pack up, you jump on a plane the next morning, and you're out. It's not like we get to lounge around all the time. And,
yeah,
you know,
so it's actually mostly very hectic.
It is very hectic.
Yeah. Okay.
But the best part of it is the actual performance and the reception from the public. When you see that the public really appreciates what you did, and you know, they come up and say, "Wow, we want you to come back." That's the best.
Yes, yes. Are you getting the kind of economic returns
on
music?
I'm hoping. I'm wishing that would improve, especially here locally, because when I do go out, I get paid, you know, respectively for my work.
Yes.
But when I'm here, the economy doesn't quite allow that. The prices you can charge for an event in Paris is not the same thing you can charge for an event in Dominica, but by, you know, any stretch of the imagination, right? So it is, I'm able to live, I'm able to take care of my family, and you know, comfortably, and yeah, so I appreciate that. But I really wish that we would see the potential here locally, in our artists, and compensate them adequately for their work here.
So last year, you know, you were successful at winning the CARICOM song competition. You are a goodwill ambassador for Dominica. Do you feel that you are an ambassador for Dominica or for the region?
I consider myself both, an ambassador for both, because I get to travel to a lot of European countries, and so a lot of people are unfamiliar with the Caribbean region. So whereas I am an ambassador for Dominica, I also, by extension, I am an ambassador for the Caribbean, and I get to explain to them some geography about the Caribbean and where exactly Dominica is positioned, and the fact that it's not the Dominican Republic, and you know, you explain those things, and then they get an idea of the entire Eastern Caribbean and the style of music there, because very often they go to the websites and start researching the Caribbean. So yeah, both. Okay.
What is your favorite song?
What, Tanya? I do not have a favorite song. Tanya, I have hundreds of favorite songs. But there's one that I particularly love listening to, and it's called "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal.
There used to be a graying tower alone on the sea. You became the light on the dark side of me. Love remains a drug that's the high and not the pill.
Why do you like that song?
It is exceptionally well written. The lyrics are beautiful, poetic, and the melody is haunting. Yeah.
What do you like most about yourself, Mikel?
Wow, that I've become someone who is not bashful or ashamed of who she is.
Way to go.
Yeah. That is what I like most about myself, that I was very timid growing up. And when I say timid, I would be outgoing, but at the same time, I was unsure of myself and not exactly proud of who I was, but now I am, and I make no excuses for who I am and what I believe. That's what I believe, and I stand firm in that.
You go, girl.
Thank you.
Have you ever had an embarrassing moment?
Absolutely. Several. I'm human.
On stage?
Yes. My one that stands out is the fact that I went to Martinique to perform with my very good friend Jean-Luc Guanel, who had this fantastic hit with Orlan called Faut pas nous faire bêtises. Beautiful song. Faut pas nous faire bêtises, pièce bêtises, avant et total.
What does that mean in English?
Let's not
don't mess around.
Don't mess around. Let's not screw up this wonderful life we have. You know, before it's too late.
Yes.
You know, speaking about a relationship.
Yes,
and
yes.
beautiful song. So he invited me to sing the female parts. I had to learn the words and, you know, come through to the show. This is Martinique, so everybody knows this song. It's a #1 hit, you know. And I step out onto the stage and I forgot sorry, I forgot the lyrics.
Okay, and so what happened?
Needless to say, the audience sang, and, you know, they were very and you say patronizing,
yes, understanding.
in a sense.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. But what was more embarrassing is that he came to Dominica and asked me to sing it again.
Okay.
And he said, do you need me to put the lyrics out on the... And I said, no, I know it this time. And I started singing, and the same thing happened.
Yes.
So,
what can we expect from Mikel 20 years down the road?
well, here's what I want to do. 20 years down the road, I want the entire world to know where Dominica is and to know what our music is. Even though I do all different genres of music, but I need to get recognition for our culture and our music. I expect to have a few Grammys under my belt.
Nice.
And I expect to be able to contribute and give counsel on the entertainment industry from both a legal point of view as well as a practitioner's point of view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
You know, we're so proud of you, Mikel.
Thank you.
And it was such a pleasure to have you,
Thank you very
on
much.
the Tarnia Green Show. I want to wish you all the best again.
Thank you.
And I hope that our viewers have been inspired by your accomplishments. Okay?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Okay. And that's all the time we have for this episode of the Tarnia Green Show. Send us your feedback by dropping us an email at thetarniagreenshow@gmail.com. Be sure to like the Tarnia Green Show Facebook page and make it a date to join us next time for another show. Until then, I am Tarnia Green, encouraging you to follow your dreams.
Goes on a bit, my life goes on without you, and you think that I was gonna sit around and cry. I said the beat goes on, my life goes on, and did you think that I was gonna sit around and cry? Yeah, you thought you had me blind, trying to pull the shades right over my eyes. I've been on to you for a while now. I thought you had me fooled, but in my life I made the rules. I thought that you could win, but not you. So now you're trying to play it cool. I see you find someone to be your fool, but pretty soon she'll understand what? You don't know what it takes to be a man. You think you got it figured out, baby. You're the one who goes to do without. Baby, you ain't nothing new. One day you're chilling, I will tell on you. I said the beat goes on, baby. My life goes on, and you think that I was gonna sit around and cry. Yeah, I'm gone. I said the beat